And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. And I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. I keep falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps blessing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he keeps cleansing me over and over and over and over and over again. And he gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. He gets sweeter and sweeter as the days go by. Oh, what a love between my God and I. Falling in love with him over and over and over and over again. over and over again. I keep falling in love with him.
Oh, weather there is always fair. There is sunshine day and night, and no cold, no rain will fall there, for the sun shines ever bright. And I'll need no heavy garments, I'll just wrap my robe around when I receive my mansion robe. And let's sing about a man, John Robin, a crown, you know that it's there. Peace and love will always. And why don't you just let me your throne surround? Lord, please reserve my mansion roll back around.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Are you okay? I think I'm okay now. I think I am. Can we start off so I can calm my nerves? Isaiah chapter 55. Isaiah chapter 55. Hope you had a good week so far. We're looking forward to a really intense Bible study. We got a lot to cover in a little time. I know we have not prayed yet, and we will, I promise you. Isaiah chapter 55, and I wait for you at verse 8. Are you there? Isaiah 55, verse 8. For my thoughts are not what? Your thoughts. Who's saying this? God? Neither are your ways, you can say it, my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are what? Higher than the earth, so are my ways, what? Higher than whose ways? Higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Let us bow. Father, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you for allowing us to just relax. And thank you, Father, what a wonderful opportunity to just study your word. Thank you for your written word. Thank you for the instructions you have given us in order to make heaven our home. Father, we just ask that you clear my mind and that we present the lesson as we have prepared it. Father, we thank you for those who are here in the audience live, and we thank you for those who are listening from different various social media. May you help this lesson, help someone. May it be a blessing to someone. May it open the eyes of someone. May it encourage someone to want to study more. Be with those who are traveling here, Father. Give them a safe route here and that all is well when they arrive. Thank you, Father. Thank you for this opportunity to study your word. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, let's get started. We got a whole lot to cover, and we're going to try to use all of our time covering this. We have started a new series. We ended the series last week, and we're going to start a new series for about 7 to 8 weeks. And the series is going to be entitled this, simply, Seeing Scriptures Through a Fresh Set of Eyes. Seeing Scriptures through a fresh set of eyes. We're going to look at Scriptures all through the next few weeks, and we're going to look at it in a fresh approach, in a fresh way. I have a question for you. Please don't let me be the only one to answer this question. But I have a question for you. What are some emotions that takes place at a funeral? You've been to a funeral. You know someone who has been to a funeral. What are some of the emotions that takes place at a funeral? Anybody? Say it loud. Just yell out loud. Crying. Okay. Anybody else? Angry, regrets. Why regrets? That's a good word. Why regrets? Who said regrets? Okay, why regrets?
You answer.
The reason why I say regrets because someone have regrets they didn't get a chance to say their goodbyes or do something that they were supposed to do before they lost their loved one.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Anybody else? What else? What are some of the emotions? Yes, ma'am.
Reflections.
Reflections, okay. How so?
You think of ways that, you may be living or things that you may need to get together in your head and with God before you be like that body in front of you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, someone said, one thing someone says crying. There's crying. Why is there crying at a funeral? Well, the loss of a loved one. The person is dead, and we cry over their loss. The realization you won't see that person on a daily basis, right? You won't see them anymore, and that's cause for us to cry. How about sadness for the family? We see the family cry, especially if it's a young family and they lose someone. We cry with them, and we get emotional, and we feel sadness for the people, for the family. Then we have some laughing. No one ever said laughing. Laughing is when we laugh, we reflecting on special times, fun times. When we've been in funerals where when a person says something up front and said about this person, we laugh because we know that person was a fun person to be around. That person was a joyous person, so we laugh at funerals. And sometimes we laugh at stories that are being told about the person, right? And then we laugh at memories within the deceased. We remember the deceased, some of the favorite stories we have, and we laugh about it. And so laughing takes place at a funeral. How about anger? How about anger? Why would you be angry at a funeral? Well, at the passing of a person. We're angry because the person died. And then sometimes we're angry at God. Why would you take this person? We just started our relationship. Why would you take him? Why would you take her? And then sometimes we're angry because how it happened. Person was shot senselessly. Person was robbed. We get angry because of how it happened. It did not need to happen that way, right? And then sometimes we get angry of people who attended. Why did she show up? Why did he show up? Nobody ever been to the funeral where somebody got angry? After the wheel. Huh? After the wheel. But then we get angry. What is said about the deceased? We have painted the deceased to be a great person, and somebody get up there and say, that joker was no good. And we get angry, right? Question number 2. Who's usually in attendance at a funeral? Who usually is in attendance at a funeral? Family, friends, who else? Co-workers? Who? Church family? Neighbors? Let's see. The deceased? You can't have a funeral if the deceased don't show up. Am I crazy? So the deceased shows up. Then we got the members of the family. Then we have friends of the family. And then there's a couple of people that show up that you didn't know they were coming, but they usually come. Sometimes we are that person. You got the critics. They criticize, and they have certain views of the deceased that you don't have. And then sometimes critics are within the family. Why did you put him in that casket? We got enough insurance money. Why he got to be buried in a box? And then you have the spectators. And we're not being nosy. We're just there to support. But we're spectating. We're looking at the things. We're looking at how the person was buried, what was said. We're just spectators, right? What does all this have to do with the class? And then we have God there, right? Isn't God there? You might didn't invite him, but he showed up. God is there. This evening, you and I will be attending a funeral. But we're not attending as members of the family. Neither will we be attending this funeral as a friend. But we will be attending this funeral as one of the two things. We're going to either be a spectator or we're going to be a critic. We're going to be one of the two things. We're going to be a spectator or we're going to be a critic. Now, this is the point of the lesson where I need a bunch of readers. And I need you to read only the scriptures that we ask you to read. Okay? So don't take somebody else's scripture. Just go to John 11 chapter, a familiar verse. John chapter 11. I need a reader to read verses 1 to 3. We got a lot to cover. John chapter 11, verses 1 to 3. John chapter 11, verses 1 to 3. Who's my reader? So they can know who's reading. We're going to need probably about 10 or 12 readers. Yes, ma'am. Okay, you'll get to the next one, Sister Cat. Go ahead.
Now a certain
And
man,
I need you to read loud as you can, sis.
Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus, of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying,
What verse are
Lord,
you on?
behold.
What verse are you on? Okay,
3.
go ahead.
Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick.
Okay, so the first verse that she read was the introduction to the attendees of the funeral we will be attending. We will be spectating, or we will be a critic too. Let's get a new reader. Thank you, sis. A new reader, verse 4. Verse 4, just verse 4, reader. Just verse 4.
Okay. When Jesus heard that, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby.
Jesus said, this sickness will not what?
Is not unto death.
It will not end in death. How can Jesus say that?
Because he conquered death.
Huh? You can say it. Go ahead. Because he's what? He's all-knowing. Anybody else? How can he say that? He is God. So, did Jesus make a statement? Did he make a guess? Or did he make a promise?
He made a promise.
He made a promise. I like that. Thank you, because I wrote this down. Promise number 1. Jesus said, what, Sister Cat?
This sickness is not unto death.
Will not end in death. That's promise number 1. And then he says the purpose, Sister Cat. What did he say?
But for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby.
We're going to work this PowerPoint overtime. It is for God's glory so that God's Son, who is God's Son?
Jesus.
Jesus may be glorified through it. New reader. Let's read verses 5 through 7.
Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus.
The writer is about to mention the relationships involved and the reactions of Jesus. Go ahead.
So, when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was.
So, you went all the way to verse 7, right?
Then, after he said to the disciples, let us go to Judea again.
So, we mentioned the families involved in the relationships. Jesus loved Lazarus. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus are all brothers and sisters, right? A reader for 8 through 10. 8 through 10. Let's get a reader.
The disciples.
Who's reading?
Hold on.
Oh, hold on, sis. She's going to bring a mic to you. And then, Ham, you take the next one. Okay, let's go. 8 through 10.
8 through 10.
Yes, ma'am.
His disciples said unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbles not, because he sees the light of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbles, because there is no light in him.
So they said to him, sis, what happened when he said that we're going to go back, we're going to go there? They said, what to him, sis? Didn't they try to stone you last time you were there? They said, Jesus, the Jews a short while ago tried to stone you, and you want to go back? Let's get a new reader. Verses 11, just verse 11.
This he said, and after this he said to them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going so that I may awaken him from sleep.
Read that one more time.
This he said, and after this he said to them.
Who is he?
Jesus.
Jesus says what?
Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep,
Yes.
but I am going so that I may awaken him from sleep.
He does, is that a statement or a promise?
Promise.
A promise. He says, look, Lazarus is asleep. I'm going to do something, and I promise you I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what? I'm going to wake Lazarus. He's asleep. Okay? So that's promise number 2. New reader, thank you. Verse 12 through 15.
His disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him.
Look, Lazarus is dead, and I'm glad I was not there for your sake, so that you do what? I'm going back. I'm going to see Lazarus for the purpose of, so that you disciples may do what? You may believe. That's the purpose. I'm going for the purpose of that God is glorified, that I am glorified through it, and that you may believe. Right? We on the same page? Let's get a new reader. Verse 16.
Then said Thomas,
Now this is Thomas.
which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him.
You know what Thomas was saying? Fellas, this is it. We're going to die together. He's about to take us to a place where we are all going to die with him. Read that one more time, sis. Let us do what?
Let us also go, that we may die with him.
How tough that got to be. For them, Jesus to hear them say, let's go so we can also die too. Would any of us would have said that back then? Okay, 3 of us. So he says, fellas, this is the end. The end is near. This is how Jesus is going to die. Verses 17 through 19. Let's get a new reader. We're going somewhere, I promise you.
Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days.
Okay.
Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off. And many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother.
Okay, so we got the attendees. We got the family. We got the supporters. And we're going to have the critics. Okay? Those are all the people who attended this particular funeral. Verses 20 through 22. Let's get a new reader.
When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him.
Look at the difference between Mary and Martha. When they heard that Jesus finally showed up, days later, what happened, brother?
But Mary stayed at home. Lord,
Mary said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to stay at home. You go, Martha. Go,
Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.
Stop there.
But I know that even Now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her,
What verse are you on?
22.
Okay, go ahead.
Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again.
Mary and Martha discovered Jesus in the town. Who gets up? Martha gets up. Mary said, I'm staying at home. Martha goes to Jesus and say, it is good to see you. I know you must be thirsty. I know you must be tired. Thank you for coming. What did she say, brother?
Martha answered, I know he will rise again.
No, Lord, if you would have been what?
Oh.
He says what? Lord,
Jesus,
if you would have.
But
go ahead.
23.
22. I want the part when he says, if you would have been here.
21.
21.
Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died.
How do you think she said that? Lord, if you would have been here, Lazarus would still be alive. How do you think she said that?
Yeah.
If you, who claim you loved us, would have been here.
Yeah.
That's the reason why John says the one he loved them. She says, if you would have been here, my brother would still be alive.
Yes.
And then Jesus makes a promise. What's that promise, brother? You read. Your brother what?
Your brother will rise again.
He said, look, your brother, promise number 3, because nobody's listening. Promise number 3, your brother shall do what?
Rise again.
Your brother shall rise again. Thank you, brother. Let's go to verse number 23. Jesus makes another promise. What does he say in verse 23?
Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again.
Your brother will rise again.
Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day.
Go ahead, read verse 24. Martha said.
Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day.
I know he gonna rise. That's easy to know. In the last day as a resurrection. But we ain't looking for the resurrection right now. We're looking for my brother today. He didn't say all that. That's just I'm sorry. You're like, okay, what Bible is that? Okay. Verse 25 through verse 26 says, I am what?
Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection.
I am the resurrection.
And the life.
And I'm the light.
The one who believeth in me will live, even though they died.
Keep going.
And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?
Do you believe what I just said to you? What I said to you was, I am the what?
Resurrection.
I'm the resurrection. And I'm the what?
The life.
I'm the life. I am life. He who believes in me will live, and even though he dies, he's still going to live. And whoever lives and believes in me will never do what?
Die.
Do you believe this, Martha? I'm about to do something. Next reader. Thank you all so much. We're going to get through this. I'm sorry? 27, yes. Who's going to read it for 27? You got a mic, sis. You going to read? Verse? Thank you, sis.
Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into
Hold on,
the
sis.
world.
We're going to walk through this. I know you want to cut the class short, but we're going to walk through this. I know. You stay on that verse. I want to go back to he's saying, I am the resurrection. I am the life. And he says, do you believe this? Now, it was a simple yes or no, right?
Yeah.
What does he say? What does she say, sis?
Yes, Lord,
Uh-huh.
she replied.
Yes.
I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of
Did
God.
he say at one time, I am the Messiah? She says, I believe you're the Messiah. And what else, sis?
The Son of God.
I believe the Son of God. That's it?
Nope.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Who is to come into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you.
What verse did you stop on, sis?
28.
To go all the way to 31.
When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there.
Thank you. What does Mary do? Mary hears that Jesus is nearby. She gets up and leaves everybody at her house. Who does that? She leaves company at her house. She must really trust those company. She leaves company at her house. I need another reader. Thank you, sis. Verse 32. Mary says some really comforting words to Jesus in verse 32. We don't want to miss it. What does she say?
Then when Mary was come, where Jesus was, and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hast been here.
Okay, I'm going to stop here. We're going to stop here. Who's reading?
Me.
All right, Sister Trace. Now, Mary has lost Lazarus, her brother.
Okay.
She's been waiting on Jesus for days. Jesus finally showed up. She didn't want to go at first, but she decides to go because Jesus wants her to go. You think Jesus is going to say as nicely as you, is Mary going to talk as nicely as you just talked?
No.
Okay, you put a little bit more emotion in Mary saying something what she said to Jesus. Because you said it like Mary is praying.
Lord, if thou had been here, my brother had not died.
Lord, if you would have been here, thank you, Sister Trace, my brother would not have what?
Died.
You should have been here. He didn't have to die. If you were here, my brother would not have died. Thank you, sis.
Okay, you're welcome.
What you have here, you have several people. You have the disciples surrounding Jesus. You got Mary. You got Martha. You got the Jews who are comforters, right? We got all those people in attendance around Jesus. Now, how many of them really listen to any of his promises or reasons? How many of them heard this sickness will not end in death? I'm going to wake him. Your brother will rise again. The reason why the situation is because I want God to be glorified, and I will be glorified through God, through him, and that you may believe, disciples, and then I want you to believe, Martha. How many of them really heard what he had to say? You know what you heard from them thus far? Fear, unbelief, blame, if you would have been here, misunderstanding, he's sleeping, oh, he's dead, disappointment. Why we got to go there and get stoned like you? That's all we heard from these people here. How do you think Jesus is there feeling? We're going somewhere, I promise you. What you did not witness in all the readings we've done so far, and we've done 32 verses, what you did not witness was hospitality shown. Jesus, can I get you something to drink? Jesus, are you hungry? You've been traveling. What about the fellas? Are they hungry? There was no hospitality shown. What you did not hear is much faith displayed. We believe you, Jesus. This is not how you're going to die. Jesus, we believe you because we know who you are. You didn't hear that. What you did not hear is thankfulness. Thank you for coming, Jesus. There's a whole bunch of things you could have been doing. All you heard was disappointment, misunderstanding, blame, and unbelief. In fact, the only person that believed that he was able to do what he said he is able to do is who? Jesus is the only person. I'm glad you said Jesus because that's the only thing I wrote down. The only person who really believed he was going to do what he said he's going to do is who? Jesus Christ. He's the only person. But brother, I hear you. They lost a loved one. They lost their brother. They needed him. He should have been there. Does everybody agree Jesus should have been there? Oh, you scared. I'm sorry. We ain't walking into that one, brother. You're going to have to make a confession after this. Why didn't he show up earlier? We could have been having a dinner party. Instead, we are watching our brother. Yes, ma'am.
He had to be away in order to show them what he was going to do. So if he would have been there, it wouldn't have been done.
Yes,
he
ma'am,
had to
but,
go away first.
I get that. I do. And I should just say, I get that. But we are reading this from centuries old. They are in the midst of this. And what you know now, they didn't know then. So you telling me they're not saying, look, why you didn't show up? Now, we don't know what all they said to Jesus, but I'm sure some of it was colorful. Well, you ain't at our house. You late? I was going to say something, but I better not. You must be from Louisiana. You always late. Oh, I'm sorry. What Jesus said. Well, this is what Jesus saw. Jesus saw Mary weeping. Right? He saw Mary weeping. He saw the Jews weeping. Did we get to that yet? 33. Read verse 33. Read verse 33.
Therefore, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping.
Stop there. Jesus witnessed two things that are happening. First of all, Mary is weeping. Not only Mary is weeping, who else is weeping?
The Jews.
The Jews are weeping. The word weeping means to mourn, to wail out loud. They were cutting up. They were yelling, that's my brother. They were weeping. They were disturbed. My brother is gone. So, what happens when Jesus saw them weeping? Who's Marita? Hamilton?
Yep. He was deeply moved in spirit.
Look. Mary's weeping. I'm sure Martha's weeping. The Jews are weeping. They're wailing out loud. So you know what? What happens? He was deeply what?
Moved in spirit.
He was moved. He was grown in spirit. He was troubled. We going somewhere, I promise you. The word deeply moved, grown, It denotes anger or indignation. It denotes agitation. Jesus is watching these two people and many more weeping. They're wailing out loud. And he is indignant. He's angry. He is agitated. The word trouble means to be disturbed, to take away the calmness of one's mind. He's not calm anymore. He's agitated. He was deeply moved. He was grown in spirit and he was troubled. And then what does he say, Hamilton?
And he said,
verse 34, where have you what?
Where have you laid him?
Where have you laid Lazarus? Which means what?
Who got the body? Where's the body?
Huh?
Where's the body?
Where's the body? Which means he ain't got to the body yet. So he said, where's Lazarus? Where is he? And they say what?
And they said to him, Lord, come and see.
Come see where you're at. Come on. I mean, not much you can do, but come on. Verse 35 says what, Hamilton?
Jesus wept.
Oh, we all know that text. Jesus wept. Jesus shedded tears. He says, where you laid him? Let's go see. And then the next verse says, Jesus wept. Why do you suppose Jesus wept? Either three reasons why Jesus could possibly have wept during this occasion. Number one, you can pick whatever one you believe. One of them is definitely not the reason. But one of the two reasons you may pick why Jesus wept. Now, one reason Jesus could possibly have wept was he's human. His human side took over. And he got emotional at the passing of his friend and seeing a family grieving, right? He was emotional. I mean, where is he? Are you weeping? She's weeping, he's weeping, they weeping. I'm emotional, man. I'm a weep too. Right? Or he got there and realized that he may not be able to do what he promised he was going to be able to do. Okay, hold on. I'm just... Where's the exit doors? I said that was one of three reasons. Work with me, please. In my final class, he got there and realized that he may not be able to do what he promised he would do for Lazarus, and he got emotional. I told him I'm going to do all of this, and I can't do it. So the best thing for me to do is weep. Or maybe he wept because of their lack of faith from persons who should have known his power and his abilities more than anyone, and it disturbed him. I done told you this sickness will not end in death. I told you I'm going to wake him. I told you your brother will rise again. And you still don't believe it. I said this whole thing when they told me that Lazarus was sick. You don't think Jesus knew he was dead before he was dead and after he was dead? You think Jesus had to find out when he got there? Jesus knew Lazarus was going to die on this day. And he said, what? Go back to the verse. He said, I am what? I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm glad I wasn't there. So that you may do what? Believe. You may believe. And I know something else. This sickness will not end in death. I know that much. So why would you get way over here, Jesus, and you see everybody else is crying, and you decide you're going to cry? Either your human side took over, you didn't think you could do what you could do, or maybe you cried because there was a lack of faith. When it says Jesus was deeply moved, he was agitated. Wouldn't you be after you done told everybody that you're going to do all this and nobody believed you? I am the son, I am the resurrection. I am the life. And you still don't believe me. All right. Anybody got a comment on that? Can we take this out so you won't be disturbed? Okay, this don't even exist. But what do you think? What do you think? Why do you think he will? Why? Why? Anybody? Brother Gary, go ahead. He's coming with the mic, Brother Gary.
You know, I've never looked at it the third way you have on C. I never thought about it like that. But after you presenting that, I think it may have been a little both. I know sometimes when I'm at funerals, you know, with our members, and I see the family crying, it makes me cry. You know, you see somebody else crying, and he's already close to Lazarus, obviously had a special relationship. So I think his relationship with Lazarus and him seeing his close friends crying, everybody crying, I think that it probably was that. But then I had never thought about the lack of faith, because I mean, he is Jesus, and just to know that the people, you know, you think somebody would say, y'all quit crying, Jesus is here.
Nobody.
You know, but nobody said that.
Nobody said it. Anybody else? Or Brother Gary going to be the only spokesman? Well, he's the preacher. We'll let him talk. Huh? The passion that Jesus has? Okay, the passion that Jesus had. Okay, let's get further. Thank you, Brother Gary. Thank you, Brother Conway. Let's get further into the text. We're going verse 36. Jesus is crying. He weeps. And 36, a spectator come in. Remember I say you're going to either be a spectator or you're going to be a critic. What does the spectator say in verse 36? Go ahead, sis.
Then said the Jews, behold how he loved him.
The Jews see Jesus crying and say, oh, Lord, how he loved him. How he loved him. That's what the spectator said, right? How many of us are spectators and say, it makes sense, he loved him? But let's see. What the critics say. Verse 37 says, and you got the mic. This is verse 37. What does he say?
And some of them said, could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died?
The critics say, look, that don't make sense. Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man we saw a few days ago have kept his man, his friend, from dying? Then why are you crying?
They spread out today.
One group say, look, see how he loved him? That's why he's crying, because he loved him. The other person said, but I don't understand this. I see you crying, Jesus. But couldn't you have stopped this man from dying? You got the power. So why are you crying? We understand why we are crying. Why are you crying? Let's go. Let's wrap it up. Do you think? Oh, I'm sorry. I got one more. I got one more. Because he had another purpose, and I might have missed it. Verse 42. Who's verse 42? We get to verse 42 yet? Huh?
No.
What verse did we stop on? 37. Let's read verse 38 all the way to verse 42.
Oh. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cave with a stone lay across the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Take away the stone.
Get away. Put the stone away. Go
He
ahead.
said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man.
Look how much faith Martha has. Go ahead.
By this time, there is a bad odor,
He stinks.
for he has been there 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe?
What verse is that on?
40.
40. Go ahead. Didn't I tell you? Go ahead.
Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?
Stop there, brother. I want you to finish that, but I want you to. Promise number 4. I'm going to give you 4 promises, since the other 3 did not work. He said, did I not tell you what, brother?
Did I not tell you, if you believe, you will see the glory of God?
How many promises do we need? Because we're running out of paper. Where were you? What promise would you have stopped on? You say number 8. Didn't I tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? Go ahead, bro.
So they took away the stones.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me.
Tell me when you're on verse 42. You on verse 42?
Yes.
That's where I want you. Go ahead. Keep going.
But I said,
let's walk through verse 42. Let's walk through verse 42.
42.
So he says, Father. Now,
Father,
yes,
I thank you that you have heard me.
You heard me.
I knew that you always hear me.
I think you're going to hear me. I feel like you're going to hear me.
No, I
you
knew.
possibly could hear me. He says, what?
I knew that you always hear me.
I know you're going to always hear me. Go ahead.
But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here.
Purpose number 4. Go ahead, brother.
That they may believe that you sent me.
I'm doing all of this for their benefit. Go ahead. I want you to finish that verse.
When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out.
Stop there. I'm doing this for the benefit of the people who are standing here, that they may believe, because they still don't believe I am who I say I am. That I can do what I say I can do. That I am your son and you will be glorified through this. So I'm doing it not for my benefit, not for your benefit, but I'm doing it because they still don't believe. Keep going, brother.
The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with stripes of linen, and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go.
Keep going.
Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him.
Stop there. That's an important verse. And the whole lesson hinges on that verse. If you mess that verse up, we messed up our lesson. Okay, that's just a little bit of pressure. Go ahead, read that verse again.
Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him.
Stop there. Purpose number 5. Many of the Jews, thank you so much. came to Mary and Martha's house, seeing what Jesus done. And what did they do? They put their faith in Jesus Christ. All of that, from verse 1 all the way to verse 42 and beyond, was because I gave some promises out that I was going to keep, and there was some purposes for why what happened. And the bottom line is that the Jews put their faith in Jesus Christ. So you know what happened when they put their faith in Jesus Christ? God was glorified. Because now they know you're the real deal, and your Father is the real deal. Now, let me say this. Question for you. You think that John wrote this encounter with Jesus just so you can get from this that Jesus knew how to cry at a funeral? You think this is the first time Jesus ever cried? What other emotions we never see Jesus do? Laugh. Go look at all your pictures of quote-unquote Jesus. Never smiling. You telling me Jesus around kids and he never smiled? Kids run up to him and he's like, what? He never laughed? You think John wrote all of this just to tell you Jesus know how to weep? No. No. Yes, he's acquainted with our grief. Yes, he knows all of these things. But this is a bigger picture. And what's the purpose? So that we may believe centuries after this story in him. And centuries later, God is still glorified through him. So that you may believe. Don't relegate this story, this situation, this encounter to one thing. Don't relegate it to Jesus' well. Because you will miss the promises he gave and the purpose. I'm trying to do something for you and with you. And Mary and Martha now are looking at this and say, what? You guys want to become a disciple? Are you serious? Now where all the blame comes from? Where all the unbelief? What's going on with the misunderstanding? You think Mary and Martha's faith was not secured? You think Jesus could have said he can do anything and they're going to say, no, you can't? Of course you can. You are the resurrection. You're the life. We believe in you. Any comments? Does that make sense? Did we kill a lot of trees for no reason? So that you may believe, yes.
And there was also, I forget what the name of it was, but in that time, if you...
Talk a little louder.
I forget what it was in that time, but if you were to become alive, you believed to be dead for 3 days, then they would not have been given Jesus the credit for bringing Lazarus back to life.
The soul, yeah, think about the disciples who said, let's go get stoned with him. Oh, hold on, let me reword that. They didn't say, let's go get stoned with him. I'm sorry, let's reword that. It wasn't that kind of party. But let's go and die with him. You think now they're walking back to wherever they were walking back, they don't have no faith? They're not looking and saying, this guy's amazing. Next week, I told you we started a new series, Seeing Scriptures Through a Fresh Set of Eyes. You know something? If you don't believe anything I said, it's okay. Guess the good news is you still can go to heaven. But I just want you to see text, scriptures through a fresh set of eyes. And we had to go through all of this just to get to that point. Next week, we're going to talk about when Christians just can't get along, what do you do? When y'all just can't get along, what do you do? Next week. But Gary, you have any announcements? Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, announcements? Okay, we have no announcement. Prayer requests. Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir, here, you can get your mic.
Sister Jimmy Adams